Bitcoin has roughly around 21 million shares after they've all been mined. So doing like some simple math there, that'll put Bitcoin somewhere between $500,000 and $700,000 a share. Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're going to be discussing Bitcoin versus gold and why Bitcoin is the best crypto to have a possible link to gold. I want to start by first discussing the relationship with money and gold. If you clicked on this video, I'm sure you're pretty knowledgeable about inflation, and you have an interest as far as for there being like a hedge against inflation. And typically that has been in precious metals. We'll have like gold and even silver throughout the ages. In America specifically, prior to the Great Depression, typically you could redeem your money for gold, and it was typically like silver notes, and you could take it into a bank and pretty much exchange it for gold because our money was attached directly to gold and precious metals. After the Depression started, you pretty much had to turn in your gold. They had fixated the amount of dollars per gold, and pretty much it was illegal to own gold at that time. This lasted up until 1971 when President Nixon removed us from the gold standard. And this pretty much means that from 1971 up until now, the US dollar is backed by pretty much the faith and the government saying that, hey, it's legal tender. This has happened over and over again throughout history where countries and empires have diluted the metal content of their currency. Typically, they would use gold and silver coins, and over time, due to like inflation, and they would start diluting the content with cheaper metals like nickel or zinc or copper. And this has happened over and over again. And this is primarily the reason why gold has throughout history been redeemed as money, because it's extremely hard to find and you can't just make more of it. This aligns Bitcoin to be the perfect crypto to be the cyber gold. If you watch my other video, you'll see that that's one of the issues that I had with Dogecoin, is because it has an infinite supply of coins available. And rarity has always played a part as far as in the value of something, especially whether it's perception or practicality. When we're talking money, we also have to think about function as well. One of the primary reasons that we even have money is just to eliminate the inconvenience of bartering. And the reason we got away from gold is because we could just have the gold, at least initially, we'd have the gold to back the money, and money is much more easier to transport. It's much more easier to conduct versus everybody walking around with suitcases and sacks of gold. And and now of course already are playing with like a sort of like a crypto of being like a cashless society, because we're technically just doing like transfers, and all we have to do is pretty much swipe our debit card. And that's, that justifies like the exchange of money. The reason why I bring up scarcity and functionality is because those are the two main requirements to be an actual functioning currency. And I know I'll see people in the comments saying, oh, but the dollar also has an infinite supply. Yes, and that is why we have inflation, and consistently the dollar loses value, and consistently the price of goods is going to go up as more dollars chase the same amount of goods. I've been buying gold and silver for roughly about 15 years now. I started when I was actually like a teenager after reading Mike Maloney's book. And he has a diagram, I believe it's on his website, goldsilver.com. And he pretty much did a comparison to pretty much so that you're able to see inflation at even on like a regular level. So he pretty much was doing like a diagram saying that, okay, measure the goods, compare it to the dollar, and then compare it to gold. And you'll see that from like 1950 up until I think like it was like 2012 at that time, gold was like rallying. It was like hitting like all-time highs around that time. It was well over $1,000. And you were able to see that it took consistently more dollars to purchase like a gallon of gas, a gallon of milk, this basic common household items, and it took less gold over time. And Bitcoin can actually, well, it's already headed toward having that type of evaluation. Businesses have already started accepting Bitcoin as far as for payments, but as of right now, to be completely honest with you, the price of Bitcoin fluctuates too much for most people to consider trading in it. Because yes, the dollar loses value every year, but it's a very small amount. Bitcoin is fluctuating by thousands of dollars a day. It wouldn't make sense for me to go buy even like a Tesla with Bitcoin at $30,000 a share today, and tomorrow it's worth $50,000 a share. Like that would just be idiotic financially. So until Bitcoin stabilizes, we're not going to see like mass trading inside of Bitcoin. That leads me to my next point. What is the potential of Bitcoin? This is a Bitcoin versus gold video, so I have to compare the amount of Bitcoin shares there are to the available gold and come up with a price. I've read a number of reports saying that all the available gold in the world is somewhere between 7.5 and $10 trillion. Bitcoin has roughly around 21 million shares after they've all been mined. So doing like some simple math there, that'll put Bitcoin somewhere between $500,000 and $700,000 a share. If that were to happen, yes, all of us would be trading Bitcoin within fractions, but initially that was the plan anyway. In the 1930s, 1920s, and 1800s, that's typically what people were doing. The dollar amount was actual just fractions of the gold that was back behind it. So that was essentially pretty much us just getting back to the way things were initially prior to us being removed from the gold standard. With that being said, I do believe that we'll see six-figure Bitcoin. I've said it a number of times. I think it's obvious now that it's headed there, but we're not going to see a stabilization in price until all the coins have been mined. And it's really just like anything else. If they went in someone's backyard today and found 10 million ounces of gold, it would affect the price. So, it's just, again, just getting back to like that scarcity thing and having the evaluation ultimately attached to it. No one knows what the future holds and the exact evaluation that Bitcoin will achieve. But if there was to be a crypto gold or an internet gold or whatever the terminology you'd like to use for it, it would certainly be Bitcoin. Ethereum would be a strong number 2 just because of those programmable contracts, but it's not going to have the stabilization of Bitcoin once all those coins have been mined. And the amount of shares that it would take to cover the amount of gold, then it would provide a slight boost. Well, not a slight boost, it would actually be substantial, but it would still be a lot less than what Bitcoin would have to cost per share to cover the cost of gold. So Ethereum I would put at a strong number 2, but it would more than likely just be Bitcoin. And that's strictly just because of the scarcity of the amount of coins available. With that being said, let me know in the comments how many shares of Bitcoin are you shooting for? Are you a gold and silver bug? Have you been stacking ounces lately? I'd love to hear from you. And by the way, I'm shooting for 5,000 subscribers by July of this year. That's July 2021. If you'd like to become a part of the family, please consider subscribing. I post here consistently. I'm doing this versus series with all the cryptos. I love for you guys to weigh in. I appreciate each and every one of you. And also like this video. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps it get pushed out to more people, and we can also grow that way. If you have any questions, leave them in the community section or in the comment section of this video, and I will get back to you. Thank you, and until next time.